What's going on, everybody? I got something special today that comes directly from you. Every day on my daily updates channel, I get asked practical step-by-step questions about how to build an AI automation business. These are both technical questions and business questions that people are experiencing and have. What I do is I just solve them live for you on that video. A lot of these are actually the best answers I have to the most common roadblocks that people face. So what I've done here is I've pulled together 4 extremely common questions I find about the AI business model that I see come up every day. If you guys have any specific questions that I don't cover today, drop by the daily updates channel. It's the link right in the description. I personally read and respond to every single comment over there, no exceptions. All right, let's jump into the questions. The biggest question is from Shruti. I think Shruti's Home. Says, it's my first time commenting ever on a YouTube video. Fantastic. Absolutely love your content. Been tuning in daily for weeks. Well, very good, because weeks is about how long I've been doing this for daily. I just have a few questions, hoping you'd answer them. I don't have any coding background, but I want to provide AI automation with a Make service. I've followed through your Make series already, but I can only rely on your templates regarding the coding parts in between in Make. So should I learn coding, Python or something, in order to do this or do it in the future? If so, where can I learn it best? No, I wouldn't really do this. The reason why is just because the value of coding and stuff is just way down. By the time that you get to the point where you'd actually be able to do something worthwhile with Python, realistically, models should just be able to do everything that we could ever possibly want to do using natural language. Like, AI is improving so quickly that even now, most of the little scripts that you want to whip up, you could just pump this into a little GPT thing and say, write me a script that does X, Y, Z in Python, and it would do pretty good. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't learn some of the concepts behind programming, of course, because understanding how to steer the model to do the things that you want to do is a very high leverage or high ROI skill. I would certainly run through 3 or 4 hours of like a Codecademy JavaScript tutorial. By the way, I wouldn't really recommend Python for most use cases that you're using automation for, just because most of the no-code builders, they work a lot better with JavaScript or Node, which is like the server-side version of that. So, I mean, I would literally just go Codecademy, JavaScript, take like the first 3 or 4 hours of this, okay? And then that's it. Just put it away and then get back to working on your no-code skills. Because ultimately, the systems that you're going to be building for clients, you're going to be doing with no-code. You're not going to be doing with like fancy, complicated scripts and stuff. That's my recommendation. And yeah, I would recommend in your case to use Make. I wouldn't use NA-Done for quite a while. And then I just focus on getting up and running and trying to get your first few customers using this very simple toolbox that we're talking about here. Make.com, some very introductory JavaScript knowledge, just enough to like know what JSON is and know that you should be using a curly brace here and a quote there, right? And then worry about everything else later. So that's my answer to question number 1. Question number 2, would love it if you could give some sort of guide on how to take the cold calls, meetings, and guidelines to follow. Yeah, I'm more than happy to help. Now, listen, I can't really shoot myself in the foot here because I offer all of this stuff as part of Maker School, which is the day-to-day accountability program and like automation program that I have. But I do have a sales script that I've made publicly accessible before. So it's this one here that I've used myself for left click for many years. I've also used it in a ton of my 1-second copy calls. Basically, it starts off by you building some rapport. Then you set the schedule of the call. You talk about why me, why now, why this. You cover a solution, and then finally you send a proposal. I don't personally cover objections myself, but objections are certainly something that you can figure out how to do. My recommendation these days is not to do like hard closes. I don't really think people respond very well to hard closes, especially for like complicated technical services like this. So you're much better off branding yourself as just a consultant and just asking people questions. Ask them enough questions, have them talk about their pain points enough, and they will sell themselves on your service. So that's typically what I do. And then finally, please recommend some books for sales calls, talking to clients, and business in general that you like. The best book I've ever read on business, I've talked a lot about. It's by this guy called Eli Goldratt, but he wrote a book a while ago called The Goal. Now, The Goal is basically all about optimizing a manufacturing company. And it's written not as a nonfiction book. It's written as a fiction book where Eli paints a picture of this man who is going through both marital troubles and kind of on the brink of divorce. And also, he works at a factory and his job is like optimizing the operations of this factory. So because it's written in a fictional sort of way, not in a nonfiction sort of way, I find that the concepts have stuck with me a lot better. And this is by far the simplest and best way to understand the difference between being efficient, which is what 99% of people care about, and then being effective, which is what 1% of people care about, but that's what actually matters. I care a lot about being effective more than I care about being efficient. It took me a while to really understand and internalize this, but efficiency doesn't really mean anything if you're optimizing a process that just doesn't actually matter for your business. This also frames business in terms of a pipeline. So instead of you not really knowing what's going on, like you'll be able to model any business as a pipeline where leads come in on the left-hand side, you have some process, and then clients come out with some sort of retention aspect. And then, this is a value add process that makes you money. So if all of the words that I said back there sound like witchcraft, check out the goal. Aside from that, sales books and stuff like that, I mean, I've read a lot of sales books, but I don't know, like they don't really add as much value to me that versus just like getting on a sales call. Maybe if there's one, it's Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. It's not really a sales book. It's more of like a negotiating and like kind of psychology book. But essentially, it's a very quick and easy way to get into consultative sales. You just ask a ton of questions. So one of his main strategies is called mirroring, where if somebody says something to you and you don't fully understand it, you just repeat the last few words of the sentence. So for instance, please recommend some books for sales calls talking to clients, business in general. So it'd be like, business in general. And then you'd be like, yeah, business in general. What I mean is, X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay. I get what you mean. So blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Right? You're asking questions more so than providing answers. Also, can you make a video for complete beginners with no social proof to get started in AI automation services? Quite the asks here, Shooty. I don't know. Can I? No, I'm just screwing with you. I've already done this a couple of times. So I'm just going to point you towards the how to acquire your first AI automation client for $0. This is the one you want to watch? I guess it's 60 cents now. Anyway, funny stories there I'm not going to get into. I had to change the title because the platform follows me and changed the way that they work because of that video. So hopefully that makes sense, Shooty. If I could offer any more value, let me know. Phoenix says, hey, Nick, what do you think about productizing these automations as a software, as a service? Do you think this makes sense at all, or would you see it as less effective? For sure, you can absolutely productize your automations and turn them into a SaaS. That's sort of like the end goal of productization anyway. Obviously, the issue with this is it just takes time and energy to build the solution, make sure it's production ready, do stuff like authentication and so on and so forth. So my recommendation for you is don't put the cart before the horse. Don't do this until you've verified that there's a lot of demand for this service and you're making, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month. Once you have a little bit of financial stability selling this solution and dealing with the implementations, then you can take a step back and actually start, putting the structures in place to create a SaaS company. Because, the way that SaaS businesses work in practice is if we draw one of my famous graphs, and Lord knows I've been liking these graphs. If you look at revenue over time, okay, the blue is going to be an agency business model, okay? So basically, you'll start at nothing, and then you actually very quickly balloon up. And then it just takes you a while to get up and running. Whereas a SaaS business, which is going to be in green here, takes a lot longer to get up and running, but its growth is usually more stable because the vast majority of it is driven through MRR and stuff like that. And so, growth tends to be a little bit more exponential with these things, assuming that you figure it out. And eventually you surpass the agency. So, initially, basically, agency makes way more money. And you can actually get the best of both worlds. You don't have to suffer. You can start off by doing agency or implementation services over here. And then you can do a transition to a SaaS somewhere right around here where maybe your revenue will dip down, but then eventually it'll supersede what you've done with your agency. This is what Instantly did, right? Instantly was offering a B2B managed email service. And then they said, hey, screw it. We're actually going to build a SaaS for this. Now they're obviously making way more money with their SaaS. And the benefit here is you have enterprise value being added to your business. It's something that's a lot more sellable than an agency. Looks like somebody's making fun of me. You're Canadian when you try to speak Spanish, but not speaking French. I must have said something wrong. As a fellow Calgarian, hey, nice. I honestly also say numéro 3 all the time. That's funny. But jokes aside, just got put on your content in the past couple of days. Want to say thanks for all the great no BS insights into the industry. Thank you. I appreciate it. A question. What are some of the major flaws with automating finance, accounting, operations functions compared to sales marketing functions with AI? I know you mentioned you typically avoid healthcare and finance, but wanted to see if you could maybe dive deeper on this. Yeah, this is a great question. I have a background in finance and accounting, and I've recently stumbled on the fun ways to automate finance processes using SQL. Fantastic. I'm learning to leverage AI to help me do more. Just want to make sure the juice will be worth the squeeze if I try it for this niche. Thank you, and maybe I'll catch you out in the Calgary streets one day for sure, man. Dude, we can totally grab a coffee or something. Yeah, just send me an email. The issue with automating finance stuff is generally, and I'm saying this from experience, if you start touching financial processes, there's a chance that you will trigger something financially for your business. What I mean by that is a lot of people jump into this and they want to automate their invoices or something, okay? The thing about automating an invoice is if you fully automate an invoice, if your thing goes wrong and you add an extra 2 zeros to your invoice that you send out, or if you add an extra 2 zeros to one of your payroll, automations, you're sending out God knows how much extra money. I guess what I'm trying to say is the benefits are marginal, okay? So you have marginal benefits, but then you have massive downsides. This is specifically for automations that, interact with a bank account or something. But yeah, the invoice one or my payroll automations are a really good example of this, right? How much time do you actually save? Well, if you schedule your payroll, I don't know, twice a month, and if you have 10 staff members, how much time do you actually save? You basically need to go through this process on the 15th and the 30th or something like that. The process might take, I don't know, 2 minutes per staff. So if you multiply that times 10 staff, you save 20 minutes, right? You do that twice per month. And then you save 40 minutes, okay? You save 40 minutes a month of some role that probably costs like $20 or $30 an hour. You're saving like $15 a month, right? If you try and automate payroll. But what's the downside? Well, let's say 1 out of 1,000 times, there's some issue that ends up, I don't know, adds an extra zero to your payroll thing, right? So maybe it turns $1,000 into $10,000. Well, now you've just lost $9,000, which, you'll probably get back, but you got to deal with a bunch of administrative bullshit. How long does it take for $15 a month to become worth it, $9,000 in our hypothetical example? Like, not that this actually matters, but, there's like a 600x risk versus reward here, right? So the reward is just very small comparatively. And I just don't really see the value in it, especially when you can hire like a bookkeeper or something to do a lot of the simple stuff for you. And then you can hire some firm to deal with like the payroll or whatnot. So yeah, like I don't really recommend automating finance processes to the point where you actually send stuff out. What I recommend is doing all the pre-work and then just queuing up a transaction. Like we do this for 1 second copy. We basically will automatically calculate how much money we owe people, and then we just queue up the transactions in Wise. And then, once a month or twice a month, one of us just goes through and goes like, oh, that much money to that person. That looks good. That much money to that person. Right. That's not an added zero. That much money. Okay. We've actually caught a couple of our issues before, which is nice. In terms of how you can leverage AI to help you do more in finance and accounting, you probably do like some financial breakdowns. You could probably offer like a couple of super cheap financial analysis packages or something, or like audits or like health, where basically the person just uploads all of their statements to a Google Drive, and then you hook it up to like ChatGPT or something, and then like parse out every page using something like pdf.co, and then send all that stuff to ChatGPT and just have it like give you some analysis based off some template. You could set up an automation like that in just a few minutes. So that'd be pretty cool. Obviously you can automate like the simpler stuff, like, bookkeeping and adding things to a spreadsheet. But yeah, I mean, the major flaw is really just like the juice is less often worth the squeeze. Like if you build an automation that adds a ton of revenue, like revenue is so much easier to add than cost savings, right? Like you can only ever save 100% of your income, but you can make a quadrillion times your income. And so that's the difference there. If you focus more on cost-saving systems, generally, if the business is small, it's going to have way less value, because if you improve the margin of a business that does $10,000 a month by 5%, you're adding $500 a month in their pocket, right? But if you improve their top line by 20%, you're adding $2,000 a month into their pocket, assuming that they have 100% margin somehow, but you get my point. All right, let's answer one question from Anas. He says, hi, Nick, love your videos. Got my first few clients from Upwork, struggling to get consistent clients with cold emails. Sent 1.8K personalized emails, 1.2% reply rate, but no conversions. How can I improve my cold email results, or should I try another method? Now, this is fine. You definitely shouldn't try another method. Listen, I want you to know that if you're just starting to cold email, you're already getting 1.2% reply rates, which aren't very good, but like they're not terrible, okay? I had a question that just came in yesterday or the day before where I walked somebody through like my step-by-step cold email writing process. So I'm not going to restate it here. Definitely just check out yesterday's video. It's in the first 10 minutes if you want answers. But just to add one final point to that, this is the worst your campaign will ever perform. You are only going to get better from here on out, okay? Hypothetically, if you improve your campaign by 10% or something like that every week, okay? Like 1.1 raised to the, let's say, I don't know, even like the next 12 weeks, your campaign will be delivering 3.8% reply rates in a few months, right? And you can improve it way more than 10% a week, by the way. Like 10% a week is nothing. If you make like one change that I mentioned in yesterday's video, you can improve it by 200%, right? If you get in the habit of iteratively scheduling like split tests, and so running a test for even like once a week or something like that, every Monday you go in and you adjust your copy, you change the way that it's written, you split test some variable, you source some new leads. These sorts of things might take you 20 or 30 minutes a week, right? Very, very little to ask for. This is the worst you'll ever be, and your results are only going to go up from here. So your question about like, hey, should I try another method? Like, why would you, man? You're right over here. Like, there's so much growth left to have, right? Also, it's not mutually exclusive. It's not like you can only do one method, right? Like, realistically, this stuff really doesn't take that much time. To whip up a cold email campaign the first time might take you a few hours, but like in terms of the monthly maintenance and how much additional work it takes, it's very little. So there's nothing precluding you from doing this and trying another method simultaneously, is there? No, because you have to send emails automatically and then people have to open them, and all this stuff takes time. There's a lot of time in between for you to do that. Real to Yusuf says, I'm hilariously stuck between choosing copywriting or AI automation. What in the world do I do? I would definitely go AI automation for sure. We're getting to the point where pretty soon models are going to be able to copyright better than us, right? The distance between us and when models will be able to copyright at 90th percentile is smaller. This is 90th percentile copywriting. The distance between this, I would say, is shorter than the distance between us and then like a model's ability to run a AI automation agency. So if you want longevity, this is what you're going to want to focus on. And I think like we're really close. I think human copywriters will still be better for probably the next couple of years. Sync System says, hey, thanks for all the value in the content. What are the best services to offer to content creators? I'm currently offering repurposing, long to short, long to text, etc., and scheduling it to their social accounts. Not sure if there are other opportunities I'm missing out on. As a content creator self, assuming you didn't know automation, what pain points are you running into that automation could solve? Great question. Couple of major pain points. One is, you know what? I'm rainbow moding today. The first one is like content ideas. Okay. Maybe I'll go flowy. We'll do some cursive. That looks better. Content ideas. So like top level, AI can really help with this. You basically just research what everybody else is doing. And then you see if there are some unique angles that you can add to this that other people aren't doing. So you could scrape a big list of YouTube videos or Instagram reels or whatever in a specific niche. Then you could funnel all that stuff into some sort of summary bot and just have a list of summaries. Now, instead of you having to do all that research yourself, once a day, it's just added to some big Google sheet. And then you just go through and you're like, oh, you know what? That's pretty cool. I could definitely add something unique to that. And then you mark off the ideas. You could also have it automatically generate titles for you based off high-performing templates and stuff. This is what I meant by the copywriting is getting pretty good. It's not going to be perfect, and definitely employ your own human touch to it, because the title and the thumbnail, these are both the highest leverage pieces of content there, what determine really how viral your thing goes. But yeah, content ideas is a really, really big one. You mentioned repurposing. I would agree. I think repurposing is huge. It's basically what we're doing now, right? So going long to short, long to text, take that text, distributing it across a variety of platforms. I think that there's a lot of value that you could provide in repurposing content from other creators, not in the same niche as you, but in niches that have some sort of intersection. So, one thing that we're doing with the Instagram, right, that I was telling you about, and we had some bug with the system, so we haven't actually been using it in the last few days, I should say. But basically, when I scrape Instagram Reels, I'm not scraping Instagram Reels from other AI automation creators. I'm scraping Instagram Reels from video editors and, personal trainers and, people. And then I look for reels that they have where they use the term AI. So now I'm getting a domain specific expert that's recommending a particular AI tool. They're not an AI expert, but they're a domain specific expert in their own thing, which tells me, okay, this thing is big in that niche. And then I can create content, which will allow me to branch out. I get some people that may not necessarily be interested in AI automation as much as they are the niche, but I can use that niche as a way to funnel them in. So smart repurposing, I would say. I guess that's not, it's more like parasite stuff, but yeah, that's pretty big. Outlines. I'll show you today how I'm looking to use AI to help start generating outlines for content. So that's one of the things that I'll be covering just at the end of the video when I do my strategy. And basically, I'm going to be using deep research to help do research on topics to allow me to create a large amount of content quickly. But yeah, those are some big ones. Yeah. So pain points are definitely ideas. They're definitely ease of content, friction involved, and so on and so forth. Bite Bliss says, I'm exploring ways to package my template automation workflows into a service. Could you offer advice on how best to structure this offering? And what might be a reasonable starting price point for such services? And what would be the best industry to start? What? Lowest hanging fruit. Any guidance would be greatly appreciated. Well, let me just think about this for a second. You want to package your templated automation workflows into a service. Could you provide advice on how best to structure this offering and what might be a reasonable starting price point for such services? So I think that all automation services should be templated because that's where you get the biggest leverage on your time in the industry. Generally speaking, let me just scroll all the way down to the bottom of this. These are my notes, and you can get all of these in the description. Just check out the link to the Excalibur. But generally speaking, the value of an automation business, it's kind of like mortgaging leverage, if you guys are familiar with how that works, right? You basically get to 5x if you're doing a 20% down versus grow to 1x because you're leveraging other people's money to take advantage of accessibility to purchases. That all sounds like bullshit to you or you don't understand. Let me run you through it. Normally, when you accept a project from a client, right, you get paid, let's say $1,000, then you have to do 100% of the work, right? Because, maybe it's a custom project, you have to build the system and you have to make the API connections and whatever. What templates allow you to do is templates allow you to collect $1,000, but then you only do maybe 20% of the work, maybe even less. So what does this mean? Well, if you just do the math, you basically 5x'd your leverage. So you made 5 times the money in the same amount of work, or you made the same amount of money with 5 times less work. So when I say template, what I mean is, let's say, you're selling, I don't know, my proposal system. And if you're unfamiliar with what that is, just look up Nixrat proposal system, proposal niches, proposal system. If you wanted to build a proposal system from scratch, it might take you 5 hours or something. You have to go through the whole rigmarole, right? But when you have a template, right, what you do is you sell this idea, this proposal system to a client. You say, hey, I can automate your proposals. And then here's the tool stack that I highly recommend we use. Then you just copy and paste this template. And now it only takes you 1 hour because you copy and paste the make.com blueprint or N8N workflow template. And then all you do is you just make the connections, which might take you 45 minutes. And then you record a video, which might take you 15 minutes. Okay. So good example leverage right over here. To answer Bite Bliss's question, Bite Bliss is the really hot anime girl. For those of you guys that weren't paying attention. Yeah. Like I would just make sure that everything that I do is templated in automation. Aside from the first project that I do, maybe you just need to like, accept a project. You don't have any portfolio pieces under your belt. You need something to get started. Aside from that first project, just try templating everything. Like every time you build a project for a client, make sure you save that blueprint. Make sure you save that template. Save the configuration. If you record a video for them or something, save that somewhere in a file. Like save that in a Google Doc or something on how to do this exact project. You're basically building an SOP for yourself and future team members to go through and, do the thing with you. It'll allow you to get up and running a lot faster. Okay, great. So that's the first part of the question. The second part, could you offer advice on how best to structure this offering? So generally agency services, and I'm inspired heavily by Matthew Larson, who I now do a podcast with, like an optimized agency product line, let's say, looks something like this, okay? You start with what's called an intro offer. And your intro offer is just like, it's fast, it's a quick win, it is a low internal cost, and it's something that you can drive through like organic, through paid, through outreach. It's basically like omni-channel. It's just the same super quick win product that you sell to everybody. So what's an example of this? Might be like a $1,500 proposal system, okay? Same proposal system I was just talking about. The great part about this is, it's fast, it's a quick win for the client, you get to deliver them results in a very short period of time. It says very low internal cost for you to fulfill, especially if you're using templates, and then it's omni-channel. But the downside to an intro offer is it's not recurring. So you don't get to take any advantage of recurring multiples. So typically what you do is you start with a line of intro offers. So we as automation agencies or freelancers, we might have like 5 intro offers, right? One might be a proposal system, one might be a cold email system, another might be another, whatever. And then what you do is you move them over to a recurring service. And the whole like gambit that you're making, okay, is intro offers are easy to sell, but they're not scalable. So you get somebody in the door with an intro offer, ASAP. That's a high conversion rate. Okay, but it's unscalable. But that's okay, because once they're in your ecosystem, what you do is you convert them from an intro offer, you upsell them, or you basically retain them on a recurring service. If you just try and get like a lead from scratch to come into a recurring service, it's a very, very abysmally low conversion rate. Just because, it's a lot to ask for. You're like, hey, monthly plan where we execute this big thing. Like, no, like nobody really wants to do that if they don't know who you are, if they don't trust the quality of your service. But if they've gone through this funnel, they know who you are, they trust the quality of your service, you've delivered them a bunch of quick wins, they know that you deliver an ROI. And so the next question is, when you pitch them and you say, here's a roadmap on what we're going to do for you over the course of the next couple of months. If you agree, I think we can realistically add $45,000 a month to your bottom line. Like the likelihood that they say yes, that's way higher. And now you can start charging like multiples because, it's MRR. The most valuable thing in any business is MRR. But it's also like you get revenue stability, but you also get like a large average contracted value when you sign a recurring service. What I mean by that is like hypothetically, if this is like a 4-month churn, okay, that just means after 4 months, most people churn on average. And let's say you charge, I don't know, $4,000 a month. Like you do the math on this, this is $16K, right? So basically, that every time you sign a recurring service, you make somewhere around $16K. So, this was, what did we say, $1,500? This is almost 10 times that, right? And there's, maybe like 10 or 20 or 30% of the people that do an intro offer convert to this. Now you're seeing where the leverage is. And in terms of what to offer for the recurring service, lots of different ideas here. Lots of different ideas. You could be like a general automation agency or fractional COO or partner sort of service like I do, where I will offer like weekly calls. So I offer a big roadmap to get to, I don't know, like let's say 100K a month for the business that comes in. Then I do weekly strategy calls and updates where I run them through what we're doing. And then after we're done, I say, hey, here's what we should do next. I then do unlimited maintenance. So I just throw basically all of the project maintenance into this package. And I say, hey, like, as long as you work with me on a monthly basis, I take care of everything. We're basically like your fractional COOs. We're your partners. I do like Slack availability. I do like team training, Q&A, training, whatever. I define the Slack availability very specifically. It's usually a 2-hour thing. And then, obviously I have like new system builds. And when I started out, I would offer this in terms of hours. So maybe it was like 40 hours per month of new system time. That's what we call a retainer. Now I don't even really mention this. I just say you get like unlimited systems. And I've used various terms here, but it's like, average turnaround of 3 to 5 business days. The value there, kind of clever. If you say that you can order as many systems as you want, you can give us the biggest roadmap ever. It takes us around 3 to 5 business days, but this is an unlimited service. When you work with us, you work with us like completely. The thing is, this 3 to 5 business days, 5 business days is a week, right? And then a lot of the time, there's something that I need from the client in order for them to get back to me. So this 5 business days in practice ends up being like 8 business days or something. So, there's like 2.5 realistic systems that I can do. And most of them are templated at this point because I have the massive library systems that I built for other people. So what do we actually do? In my case, it's like a few hours a week per client, basically building systems and stuff. And now the real value for most clients is my weekly calls where I discuss the strategy, discuss things that I'm seeing in their business and that sort of deal. So that's one way to go about it. That's like your automation agency model. The other is you basically take one of these intro offers and maybe the proposal system or maybe like the cold lead gen system, so the cold email system, right? And what you do is you actually like make your whole agency service around that offer. So like if we're doing cold email lead gen, like your recurring service is not an automation agency free for all. It's like a lead gen service. So at this point, you got somebody in the door with this automation stuff, but now you're basically transitioning to like a hyper specific recurring service that might be better described as like a lead gen service than an automation service. So what might the lead gen service be? 10,000 leads per month uploaded to your campaign, weekly iteration, split test, copywriting, weekly reports, full email nurturing and management, full qualified booked calls, full this, full that. Maybe you take a percentage of revenue or you take like a certain dollar amount per lead, PPL. I know that was pretty exhaustive. Good 10-minute answer to that question, but I figure everybody here probably wants to see it. And then this will also give me an opportunity just to like shove people that ask me this question to this video. So hopefully that makes sense. Sanka Dipal says, hey Nick, I'm from India. It's a little bit of an intro about me. I know JavaScript and NaN. I'm a no-code lover. My spoken English is just okay. And now I want to start AI automation business. I'm also a blue cat with lasers for eyes. As a beginner, should I just jump into learning automation skills, Maker School, or should I improve my communication skills? Please reveal some roadmap about this. Yeah, I'm happy to. You mentioned a roadmap specifically, right? So I do have like a 110-step roadmap right over here. Get this. This is cool. This will like give you everything that you need. I don't know why I have to sign up for my own product. Weird. This should give you everything that you need in terms of the actual, like how to get up and running with automation side of things. It's a big 110-step roadmap I developed quite a while ago that walks you through everything involved in automation, basically like the bare bones, 0 to 1. Here's how to make $25,000 a month with this business model. And it's very granular. It's not like other people that like tell you high level, like become a better person and learn business strategy. No, it's like, download this thing, sign up to this platform, right? It's the actionables, which most people care about. If I'm honest though, I don't think I've ever gotten a higher ROI from anything than improving my communication skills. So if your spoken English is just okay, I might just right now block out like the first hour of my day and just do some sort of like English training or English roadmap or English course. I'm not naive. I don't think that English is like the dominant language for the next 100 years or whatever, but English is definitely like the highest leverage skill that you could learn right now for most people that are not in like English speaking countries. Just because usually if you're not in an English speaking country, the median wage and labor productivity is so much lower than in English speaking countries. And so you can do what's called geo arbitrage, where if your English is really good, you can work with people in English speaking countries and you can make the money that they make, but then bring that over to your lower cost of living country where you're basically earning like a 10x buying power. And you can do that just with English, like literally with nothing but English skills and like a little bit of common sense, you can do that. So if you pour automation skills to the fire on top of the spoken English thing, like you could crush it for sure. So that's probably what I would do. Yeah, if I were you. Tommy says, how do you typically deal with no-shows, people who don't show up to your sales calls, assuming you book them in from cold outreach like email, cold calling, cold DMs, etc.? Curious to know if you have any sort of automation or backend nurturing system you do to help them with showing up more often or rebook. Here's what my current sequence looks like. Call booked, meeting reminder sequence till meeting with both SMS and emails, short 4-minute case study video I send them before our call and a call. That seems reasonable. You know what? Like, I got to be real. There's like the technical aspect to this, but there's also just like the copywriting aspect. A lot of it's an art. The way that I do it is I will make my meeting follow-ups seem as if I just texted the person just a few minutes ago. Like basically, I think I do a 2-step now where they will book immediately after they book, but not like immediately, but like within 5 minutes, I will send them what looks like a very hastily written message that's like, hey, Pete, just saw that you booked me in for this time. Looking forward to talking about paraphrased version of whatever the hell they wanted. You can do this in like Make or N8N really easily. Basically, you just watch the booking event. The second that you have the booking event, you take all of the questions that you ask them on the booking page, feed them into AI, have it generate you a paraphrase snippet, and then just immediately, respond. And then what I do is 2 hours before the call, and by the way, I don't book my calls really far out. I book them all like within a week, right? It's like, somewhere in the week, 2 hours before the call, which, realistically is probably like a couple of days after I sent the initial thing. I will send them a message and I'll say something along the lines of, hey, just getting in a little late. I'm going to be exactly like 30 seconds late to this, or I'm going to be 30 seconds over. Just wanted to let you know because I really appreciate or respect your time or something. So now what you're doing is you're like admitting some fault, and it seems personalized as customized as hell, even though it's not. And you do it 2 hours in advance. So it's soon enough that the person can see this. And like, I use the term late, even though if you're 30 seconds late to a call, you're not actually late because, if the call was at 2 p.m., it's still technically 2 p.m., right? Hopefully that makes sense, Tommy. And there you have it. I hope these answers help clear up some of the questions you guys have been having about how to start and scale an AI automation business. If you guys enjoyed this format and you guys want more direct answers to your specific questions, again, I literally check every single comment on my daily updates channel. I've never skipped one. Just head to the link in the description, subscribe there, and drop your questions. I promise I'll address them on upcoming videos. And for those of you guys that are serious about accelerating your journey and want to join a community of people that are actually making real money with AI automation, check out Maker School. We got over 2,500 members who typically get their first clients within a month or two of joining, thanks to a 90-day accountability program. Aside from that, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video or over on Daily Updates.